purchase 3 different types of pesticides and provide equipment maintenance. Introduced by Mr. Onishi, waive GREDC.
Move to approve resolution 286-14.
Thank you. It's been moved by Mr. Onishi and second by Mr. Kern. Is there any? Ms. Willie.
I want to say that I support this, but I want to note that in 2008, or 2007, 2008, I worked with Linda Cotton, who was working with and Pete Hoffman, on a council resolution dealing with the Little Red Fire Ant. At that point, there were only 2 locations on the west side of Hawaii where it had been located. This came about in response when they were doing the county ag plan, and I went to numerous of those meetings, and people kept mentioning, oh, this is great, but if we don't do something about the Little Red Fire Ant, it's all going to be for naught. So I helped put together a petition and worked on that legislation and county legislation with very specific goals and actions that could be taken to address the Little Red Fire Ant on this island as a county action, an ag action, agriculture matter. And basically saying if we don't do something right now, it's just going to become more and more irreversible. And I did study about what happened in Florida, places where it had spread, where then whole ag areas were deserted because workers would no longer be there. My point is that this basically what I got after that, or what I heard after that is, well, Margaret, this is really a state matter, and really we ought to be leaving it for the state to do. They've got agriculture, they've got the ability, they do invasive species, and pretty much the county didn't do anything, okay? We now have this far more pervasive. It's now coming up as if it's some urgent matter, and when I was in Honolulu, it was sort of like, well, we really have got to address this now because it's spreading from the Big Island to Maui and Honolulu. We just really have got to deal with it and make sure we stop it, that it doesn't come to Oahu. Anyway, I think you all can sort of see some of the different, what I'm trying to say here in terms of ag, in terms of sort of home rule, in terms of us taking control of our destiny. Suddenly here it was, we didn't do it, we left it to the state. Now it's suddenly far going beyond the Big Island and it becomes an urgent matter. So obviously I support this. It's now way out of control on this island, and I'm just really disappointed that we didn't look at this and say, yes, there's concurrent jurisdiction between the county and the state, and it's too bad that in that instance we did not act and did not do some of those specific things that we worked on with Nancy Ridfeather and people all around the county. What could we actually do to make sure and prevent this in its place? So with that, I yield. I do support it. And it's just one more example where we'll leave it to the state. We know how to handle it. Did not work. And I don't want to see that again in other instances. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Lee.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hearing what Ms. Willie had mentioned, I mean, yes, maybe back then when the wedding moved on, but to me we need to move forward. And I don't think we should just be, it's all the state's fault. But then I want to call up Dr. Kaz, and then also, Dr. Kaz, can you come forward? And what happened is, like I mentioned to you guys previously, months back, is that the county working with the Department of Agriculture, we got this tourism grant money that was utilized between the county and Dr. Kaz Benwood, who is the one that applied for this grant, and we were doing we started doing some projects with the zoo, and then now we started to go with Richardson Beach Park, and we're gonna start moving forward on the public parks. Then Senator Kahele, during this session, had mentioned about this bill that he wanted to put in, and one was about the fire ants, and he wanted to appropriate the money towards the Department of Ag, but I told him, Senator, that the County of Hawaii, with Parks and Rec, with the leadership of Clayton Homa, the Director of Parks and Rec, working with Dr. Kaz Vanderwood from the Department of Ag, we're already doing this project on this island. And so if this funding that he was going to appropriate, instead of going to the Department of Ag, come to the County of Hawaii and to Parks and Rec, because then this can also give more money, more funding to fight and eradicate the fire ants. And so that's why this bill is up. And then also I want to thank Representative Cliff Suji, because then we needed a companion bill on the House side, because as you folks know, as the legislature works, if you have the same bills on both sides, when it crosses over and goes into conference, it's much more easier to get it approved. Whereas if you have it only on one side, like say only a Senate bill, and it goes to the House, then it can be tweaked or whatever, and it can be deferred. But by having these two bills going forward and approved by the House and the Senate, when come conference and to hopefully when the time comes to vote on this, it will pass and we can get the money. But Dr. Or Clayton, you want to kind of mention something or make comments, and then we can go to you, Dr. after.
Yes, like Councilmember Onishi said, we already have been doing a program with Dr. Cass Vanderwood here. We did it at the zoo because it's pretty infested there. It's in the trees as well as on the ground. As well as down in Richardson's Ocean Beach Park, where we're experiencing problems in both the trees and the ground as well too. So it not only affects our visitors but our employees who are working at the facilities. Right now we just did our first treatment down in Richardson's with propane back in the middle of January, I believe, and it seems to be working very good actually right now, according to reports from our park caretakers. We're planning to do another treatment soon. And again, yeah, we have been working on this for a little bit, a year or so from now, from when we began. So moving forward, we'd like to get the support from the state as well on this project.
Madam Chair, I'm going to ask Mr. Homa a question, but also with Parks and Rec, you folks started up a crew, right? You guys kind of...
Yeah, we don't have a specific crew, but we have our park caretakers on the ground doing the spraying, and they got trained by Dr. Cass Vanderwood over here to do the spraying of the bait. So we're closing the park in the afternoons for a couple hours, and then the next morning it's opened up again. And so we're going to do this at the zoo as well too. We've got some equipment through the grant, but we need to do this island-wide. We got infestations, down in Nalehu, we got them in Kona as well too. So it's an island-wide issue that we hope to get support from the state.
Dr. Vanderwood, do you have any comments?
I don't have too many comments. Am I on?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, as you know, we've been working with the county for...
Can you state your name for the record, please, sir?
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman. My name is Dr. Cass Vanderwood. I'm employed by the University of Hawaii. I'm based here in Hilo. So, yeah, we've been working with Parks and Recreation for a number of years now, and I'll restrict my comments to the problem of little fire ants on public lands or lands managed by the county. As this pest spreads, more and more public lands will become infested by little fire ants. So for the Park and Recreation division of the county, it's first of all, it's more work. It's an ongoing problem that needs management. And so we've engaged with the county and with some grant funds from the Hawaii Tourism Agency, to develop a project whereby we can develop methods that are efficient and effective and safe, provide the training for the staff that will be applying the treatments, and basically set up a best practice system, I guess, for managing this problem on public access lands like the beach parks and the zoos, soccer fields, those sort of places.
Thank you. And then also, if I'm not mistaken, the amount that's being requested is like $285,000, correct? So,
I believe that's correct.
yeah, and so with that funding, if we can get that, that's going to help Parks and Rec to go around the whole island. Because I think with the tourism, the State Tourism Authority, we got, what was it, about 40,000?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. It was our application to the grant round was to provide funds for a pilot project that would allow us to develop a method that would be effective and efficient and safe. And so we're in the process of developing those methods and providing the training, for example. The problem now is that with so many public access areas that are infested, the Parks and Recreation Division is probably ill-equipped to tackle that problem island-wide for the land that it looks after.
Good. Yeah, and so I'm asking for your support. And then the last thing I just want to say that, working with the Senator Kahele and then also with Representative Suji, it was like, I didn't want the money going directly to the Department of Ag because then it would trickle down, and then by the time it comes to the county, we would have maybe like 1/3 of the amount. So this way, this whole amount will come directly to the County and to the Parks and Rec. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Onishi. Ms. Ford.
First of all, I want to thank Dr. Kaz Vanderwood. I worked with him on the little fire ant, a little bit on the Kona side, and also the stinging nettle caterpillar. I don't know where we'd be without him. Did you answer that? We would like to know what the chemical is that you're using, what the name of the chemical is, so that the public knows what to use to deal with these little fire ants. Doctor?
Thanks for that question. We'll be using a number of different chemicals, but what's most important to us is that we use the least amount of pesticides for maximum effect. So that's part of the background to this project, is to select the right pesticides, and we prefer to use baits because baits are made mostly of food, and the chemicals are a very, very small fraction of the total amount of product that we use. And the two active ingredients we'll possibly be using, well, the three active ingredients we'll be using most are hydromethanol, metaflumasone, and S-methoprene.
Doctor, I apologize because we're all laughing over here. Would you write down the names of those chemicals and leave them with the staff and have them email them over to us? Because very few of us have the chemistry background that you have, and we're a little bit confused. So if you would do that for us, we'd appreciate it. But basically, you're going to use baits because it takes a lot less, and the ants will take them back to the nest and the queen, correct?
Yeah, it's very important, especially when we're working around sensitive areas like beach parks. We've got an ocean right next door. We've got an area that's being frequented by the public. So we have to be super, super careful about the kind of products that we use.
Thank you.
The
Thank you,
project
Doctor.
have the details that you asked for already.
All right. Thank you, Doctor, very much. I do want to say one other thing. I have to say this in support of Ms. Willie. It's nice to look forward. It's nice that we're starting now to deal with the little fire ant. But the problem that she experienced, we have already experienced with the varroa mite and honeybees, which I dealt with 1 or 2 terms ago. The entire honeybee industry went up in arms. Didn't do us any good at all. And also with the stinging nettle caterpillar. So I understand totally what she's saying. I agree with her. And I don't think it's appropriate for us to say, well, that's then and this is now. We have the same problem, and we're going to have the same problem again unless we, the county, can control some of this. Thank God that we've got Dr. Vanderwood to help us with this stuff. And he works for UH, which is a state organization. But I felt compelled to say something because Margaret has worked very hard on this particular issue. I have worked on a different issue with the same problem, not being able to get the state to start responding, the State Department of Ag. So thank you very much.
Any other comments? Mr. Illigan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to Councilmember Onishi for addressing this issue. There's a couple of questions I have. One is regarding, actually, if I could ask Dr. Vanderwood a question. One of the things that I heard was that there is an organic solution regarding fire ant problems. Do you know of any way of reducing fire ants through organic methods?
At the moment, there are no effective, truly organic approaches that can be used.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have another question to Councilmember Onishi. Councilmember Onishi, I was wondering if you know the status of the Senate bill and also the House bill?
In fact, yes, I do. Right now, it got referred to the Energy, Environment, Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs Committee, and also to WAM, the Ways and Means for Senate Bill 2920, Draft 1. And then on the House bill, it's being referred to the Finance and Agriculture, but we don't have any dates set, or we don't know any dates that are set on when they're going to hear these bills.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Councilmember Onishi. Also, thank you to Director Holma and Dr. Vanderwood.
Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Be really brief. Red voter fire ants has been an issue and continue to be an issue. We take all the help we can get. I really appreciate Dr. Vanderwood and all the work that he's been doing. Mr. Hanma for getting involved, and really appreciate Mr. Onishi for working on this and spearheading this and coordinating with some of our state legislators to work together on this. So big mahalos, and I absolutely support this.
Thank you. Any further comments? Ms. Willie?
I would just like to take a moment quickly, just sort of, this was from Resolution 816, 2006, 2008. And just a couple of the things that we put in there, and this was largely organized by the organic farmers working on this bill. And as was mentioned in terms of your question, is right now there is no organic method, and that's why they felt so strongly to protect our organic industry. The things that we suggested in there that were in your council 2008 resolution, or council, was to create a little fire ant task force on the island to provide management oversight for the county to respond to this crisis, and to ensure that information gets out to the farmers who are actively working to control it, and to designate a person or persons to coordinate efforts here on this island, which I'm glad that we do have the doctor here helping on that. And then we wanted to update a mapping of the little fire ant infestations around the island. And the little fire ant task force was requested to advocate at the state level for inspection, including for green waste, to prevent it going into our landfills. It's now into our landfills. And to educate inspection so that all nurseries could identify how it's very simple to identify these things. And what was happening a lot is where plants were coming in, whether it's from the large companies, retail stores, or otherwise being passed around. And I could go on just in terms of a public education campaign and just how important it is that we be farsighted in what we do. And none of this was studied. As you recall, early last year I did have a request and update by the county as to what they had done, and pretty much that little to nothing of here. I'm not saying they didn't do anything. And I also want to bring up that around that same time was the Charter Commission, and I had an amendment that I wanted to bring in to create a county ag division. And the administration sort of encouraged me not to promote that, really because we have to get our act together and make sure that the state respects what we do and what we need to do. Thank you. Again, I do support this.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, on Resolution 286.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Logan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha? Mr. Kern? Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
Aye.
Mr. Ishimoto? Chair Iya?
Aye.
Chair Iya, we have 9 ayes.
Resolution 286 is adopted.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Onishi?
yeah, can I make a motion to suspend our rules so that we can get this, ASP to the legislature?
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Onishi and seconded by Mr. Iligan to suspend our rules for the holdover period in order to send this straight to the legislature. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Ford? Mr. Logan? Mr. Kanuha? Mr. Kern? Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie?
Aye.
Mr. Ishimoto?
Aye.
Chair Iya?
Aye.
Chair Iya, we have 9 ayes.
Thank you. The motion carries.